The first instance I know of someone talking about really a Peri or a true intra-workout was Thomas Fahey's book, a Steroid Alternative Handbook, I think it was called. Mm-hmm. And I picked that up. It was published in like '91, and I remember I maybe got it in like '97, '98, and he called it insulin loading. And he actually's got some publications out there where he had the subjects consume. Basically take certain aliquots of this 2,000 calorie drink during their workout, and he measured insulin levels, sort of thing.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah, his main idea was to elevate insulin.
Mm-hmm.
So I started doing it then in like '98, and I worked my way up to about 2,000 calories. Almost, I was explaining to some folks last night who asked me questions, is like I wanted to see, not that I necessarily needed 2,000 calories during the workout, but I wanted to see, okay, I think that's going to be the line. I'm going to try to cross over it and look at the line from the other side.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's probably the line. You don't want to go much above
Yeah.
that. There's really no reason for almost anybody. So yeah, the way I sort of historically looked at it was, yeah, you had that early, and that was really kind of ahead of the game, I think, when Fahey put that out there. And some of Tipton's early research with the pre-workout, post-workout whey protein, and the Boree study, casein versus whey, people started figuring out how the different proteins could be used. Milos Sarcev was someone who everyone kind of knew of. He was the big guy for doing intra-workout stuff. And then a lot of people have taken it on since then. And you know, I think my perspective on it all is blurred because I just kind of knew, I had the sense from my own training since the late '90s that this works. So I was just always doing it, and I'm like, yeah, you know, I kind of knew that. I didn't even like think, wow, this is a tremendous idea. I should try this. Because I've already been doing it for 5 or 10 years when people are thinking it's, you know, novel and new. A lot of the people that are here even, and these are the people that are here are really, they're learners. They're cutting edge surgery, and they've been doing it for only like 2 or 3 years. One of the guys in the team was saying he usually has his intra-workout or peri-workout, and he trained Friday morning, and he just like, I don't want to pack all that stuff in my bag, you know. And he didn't have anything, and he's like, oh my God, I'm dying.
Yeah.
He know, I mean, some of it may have been psychological, but you know, just kind of a placebo effect. But he was noticeably fatigued without having that in there. So, but he'd only been using it for 2 or 3 years. So it's really trying to take hold now, especially whenever the products come out, the products that match that. And I think there's supplement awards that get given out every year, and they're starting to give a supplement award for intra-workout or peri-workout in the last 4 or 5 years. So when there's a
and those are always based on what categories are big sellers, so they had to add a...
Yeah.
So obviously there's either really good marketing or it's effective enough that every company wants to carry one.
Right. Well, you know, the thing is, having conversations about this too, if something is kind of new or different, or if it's just people like minor details, they want specific things. In the peri-workout recovery realm, a lot of people say, you know, here's my pre-workout, here's my intra-workout, here's my post-workout. And to a certain degree, I mean, unless you have problems maybe with fullness and you have to take the pre-workout like an hour beforehand, it's kind of like just a shake that you had. If you go an hour and a half, it's not really pre-workout. But all that stuff gets mixed in your belly anyway. I mean, unless you've taken blood work and you know that, you know, you've got some particular manipulation. I can't even think offhand what you'd be trying to do in particular with taking 3 different drinks 3 different times, and you know, you got to fill them up unless you have them pre-made or they get warm. It's just a big pain in the butt. Just make it all one. Start it before, have it intra, and have it afterwards. But people like the cool, the more intricate. There's a shininess to that that attracts people. So you come out with a new supplement category. It's something new and different people haven't tried. Well, you don't want to lose your edge because it might be working. So it's a supplement category, and then it takes off, and then people start to find that it works. We could talk about maybe why and why it doesn't work. That's kind of a big issue too.
Well, let's jump back. You mentioned Milos Sarcev, and I remember he would do kind of what you were saying. You'd see him training people. He'd have little styrofoam cups with there'd be 2 pills in this one, there'd be a beverage in this one.
Yeah.
Have you had any conversations with him about this, or did you just kind of follow what?
I just reading online, seeing videos, that sort of thing. I haven't actually talked to him specifically. I could find out. John Meadows and I obviously communicate a good bit, and Milos and John have talked some recently. So it'd be interesting to compare notes with Milos. And John and I were just talking about this the other day. It'd be really great to have the 3 of us on there because we're all big fans of the intra-workout and compare thoughts. But Yeah, I mean, like one issue can be a lot of people like to take a pre-workout that has a stimulant in it. And many times those are absorbed better on an empty stomach. So it might make sense if you're going to have, if you have a particular pre-workout that's low calorie, that's mainly caffeine or ephedra or what have you, you might want to take that first. That would make sense because you're going to get a better stimulant effect during your workout. But as far as Milos using pills and styrofoam cups, it may have been simply that was the only way to get those supplements.
I think the video that I saw was shot prior to that category of product with everything in it, so he was kind of hand mixing.
He's been doing this for a long time.
Yeah.
It was long before you could find the intra-workouts out there. So,
yeah. And my understanding is he seems to go pretty high in the carbohydrates in his. Is that?
I think so. I don't know what his mix is. He has his own line now, so you can find that out. The label will be on there. His system, from what I recall, and I'm not speaking for Milos, but he was doing really high voluminous workouts. He was doing these giant sets with people. So we're talking about big guys who are moving relatively big weights for high reps. They're using up a tremendous amount of glycogen. This would be a case where, with what he was doing, from what the stories I heard and some of the videos I've seen, the guys who weren't acclimated to that kind of work were just getting demolished.
Yeah.
It was just a tremendous volume of work. So they would want to have that carbohydrate in there just to replenish glycogen between sets, which you can't do to a certain degree, and to speed the recovery. So that's probably the reason why he had a lot of carbs. As far as protein content goes, it's kind of interesting. The research suggests that you can get a pretty substantial effect just from 6 grams of essential amino acids. You can get a tremendous protein synthetic effect just from taking that small amount. So you don't need a ton of protein in order to have an effect.
Let's talk about, I kind of veered us away from where you're headed. Tell us about some of the benefits of a Peri workout.
Oh geez, yeah, I'm going to imagine my slides here. The things you'll have, the basic components would be a protein and a carbohydrate source. So the protein, especially essential amino acids, are going to stimulate protein synthesis and inhibit protein breakdown. The branched chain amino acids are especially good for limiting muscle soreness. And the amino acids as well can stimulate insulin to a good degree. So insulin in the presence, especially in the presence of carbohydrate, which stimulates it even greater, with enough blood flow, and essential amino acids can be anabolic. There's kind of a research question there because insulin doesn't have this tremendous anabolic effect in humans like it does in rats, and it definitely has an anti-catabolic effect. So the protein, essential amino acids, and if you include dipeptides that you're going to get in like a hydrolyzed whey or casein product, that's where I think I'm looking to really see some good research done, because there are some products out there that use a hydrolyzed casein or whey, and a couple in particular I'm thinking of that people really like, one that John Meadows loves to death, and the dipeptides actually get absorbed more quickly than essential amino acids. They get in the bloodstream immediately. I haven't even found, I've looked and maybe there's something come out since I last looked, but I haven't even found that there's a transporter to bring those into skeletal muscle. But they affect GLUT4 translocation, so they're helping to bring in glucose, but we're talking about a dipeptide. It's not a glucose molecule. They will speed glycogen levels as well, and this is in rat data. In one particular rat study, maybe it was mouse, even without increasing insulin, at the same insulin level, they promote glycogen synthesis. So these dipeptides, which would normally be products of protein breakdown in the gut, there's transporters to bring them in, are having effects on carbohydrate metabolism. And of course, essential amino acids have effect on protein metabolism. So if you take a hydrolyzed product in, you're going to break that down. You're going to have a surplus of di and tripeptides, which can get transported in. And those have a multitude of effects, actually. Some affecting angiotensin. There's a whole number of effects that the dipeptides have. They're literally drug-like. And you're going to get non-essential amino acids. You need those as well for maintaining the protein synthetic machinery. A lot of people will kind of overdo the essential amino acids, and they'll say, well, I'm going to take, wake up, have some essentials, and I'll have just some branched chains and then afterwards I'll have some essentials, and they're not having a complete protein source. And the essentials are essential because your body can't produce those. And those are the real triggers of protein synthesis. I liken this to a construction site where you've got like, basic lumber and that sort of thing, wood on site. Those would be like your non-essential amino acids. You're always gonna have plenty of that. The body's got plenty of those in its protein stores, some in the gut and muscle that could be broken down. But in order to build the construction, you have to have nails, you have to have other pieces that are gonna go into building the house. So you can't tell, a contractor can't tell his workers, okay, start building. If they don't have any nails, they don't have anything to put the boards together with. So the protein, essential amino acids, dietary peptides, and the non-essential amino acids each have their roles. And I've suggested people maybe include some essential amino acids, small amount, because you're going to get those. And a high quality protein has a lot of leucine, a lot of essential amino acids in it. A hydrolyzed source as well, because seems to be some really cool effects from these dietary peptides. So include that, and then have just some regular protein. There's been plenty of things to show that. I get asked the question, what's the magic amount? What should you have? And as I think I mentioned before, 6 grams of essential amino acids will do a tremendous job. And a lot of the studies have used like 6 grams of essential amino acids and 30, 35 grams, 40 grams of carbs from like Gatorade, something like that. And that will do the trick. But if you're someone who's, for instance, a larger guy, many people might be listening to this, who's going to try to take in 300 grams of protein, because you're going to get your gram per pound and maybe then some, and your workout takes 2-3 hours, why would you limit it just to 6 grams of essential amino acids that period of time? One strategy is really to make the Peri workout or the intra-workout a meal unto itself. So if you're going to have 6 meals of 50 grams of protein, you get your 300 grams of protein in, why not put 50 grams of protein in your intra-workout? Because you're someone who's going to be eating a lot of food, why not do it then? It might be overkill, and you can look at the research. Some suggest 20 grams of whey protein is all you need to maximize protein synthesis. Well, what if we take that out over 3 hours and you just do 20 grams of protein every 3 hours when you're waking hours? You're going to fall short of what you need optimally for protein synthesis. So the cute studies don't always tell you what you need to do when you're constructing a real-world diet. So those 3 components all make sense to have. You're going to get all of them from a whole protein, but digestion is compromised, so I suggest why not add a little bit of the essentials and the dipeptides, the hydrolyzed products, to a whole protein. And then, so that's your protein answer.
Okay.
In 10 minutes or less. Carbohydrate, you want to have a glucose-based carbohydrate source. So fructose isn't your best choice. One of the main points I made yesterday is that it's kind of an unnatural act to be eating while you're exercising. Most people aren't hungry at all when they're exercising, and that's a big issue. Some people just don't want to feel bloated when they're trying to train. You can adapt to that. There's some evidence in endurance, carbohydrate supplementation during endurance exercise. Your GI gets better at that over time. And I've seen that for sure. I mean, I didn't start off day one and say, okay, 2,000 calories. But in Fahey's work, that's what he did with those people, and they survived. I think he noted that there was some gastric distress there. I wouldn't suggest anyone go out and do that. But in terms of your carbohydrate source, you want to find something that isn't going to cause GI problems. Glucose does that for a lot of people. One of the guys confirmed that. He switched from glucose to highly branched cyclic dextrins and found what the research has shown in terms of gastric emptying. It feels great. There's a world of difference. The fellow's going to throw up when he was using glucose. Highly branched cyclic dextrins, he was fine. So the carbohydrate should be glucose-based, ideally be high glycemic index to a certain degree. That's going to be modified or moderated by the exercise because absorption's not the same. And if you're exercising in the heat, you're doing a high volume program, you're going to have less absorption than you're going to get if you're just sitting down or you're training like a powerlifter with a 10-minute rest between sets. But something that's going to elevate the insulin is going to be to your advantage. And of course you want to keep taking this in throughout so you don't get reactive hypoglycemia. So the carbs are going to give you glycogen replenishment, they're going to give you insulin, and hopefully they're not going to give you gastric distress. When you combine the carbs with protein, you kind of get a double whammy because you get more insulin, and then the insulin is going to allow for blood flow with essential amino acids there and potentially a protein synthetic effect on the insulin itself. So those are the 2 main components, and then thirdly there's the bells and whistles category, what I call it. And if you're taking it, the basic rules of thumb that I use there is think about the bells and whistles. Bells and whistles just aren't good just to have bells and whistles. You don't need to put the whole kitchen sink in there. If it's potentially ergogenic during the workout, maybe you want to have a pre-workout stimulant. Maybe you want to have some caffeine in there because you train in the morning, it helps you wake up. That would be good. If you want to put like your daily dose of beta-alanine in there, and that would just give you your skin would start itching and feel like you want to rip your skin off, that's going to probably be ergolytic. If you use the wrong kind of carbohydrate for you or protein, like a whey protein concentrate can cause this issue for people, you might have gastric distress. One guy asked me last night, he was putting 10 grams of creatine, and he put it all in his post-workout. He was a 3-drink person, and you can do it all as one now. And he was getting osmotic diarrhea. He actually thought he was messing up his GI. He thought he was causing, I was like, no, that's just too much for you to absorb. The creatine pulls in water in your colon, and you get diarrhea. So if there's no need to take in the supplement then consider why you would. It may be just convenient. You can get these blends put together that have multivitamins in them. And if you want to get kind of all your basic multivitamin, people wake up when they take their pills, if you can add that in there, it doesn't make it taste horribly, then you could use it. If there's no reason to, or it could potentially be ergolytic, take it some other time. If you take it different times throughout the day, because let's say it's beta-alanine, you want to split your dose up a little bit, don't take it all at once, just take a little bit with that perhaps, because you got it in your supplement, just throw it in there, and then you can take the rest later at night. So, but there's a number of things that you could use that could potentially be ergogenic, but you don't necessarily have to have them in there.
Okay. What are your thoughts, last question, what are your thoughts on how to kind of bridge from your peri-workout to first meal post-workout?
Well, it kind of depends on how you set your peri-workout to be. There are different scenarios. Like someone who a guy I just spoke with this morning, he works out really early in the morning. He works out at 3:30 or 4. So, and he doesn't have time. He has to get up and go because he has to go on his regular job. That's his first meal of the day. I suggested he consider thinking about making that a pretty big meal. Then he doesn't even have to do a post-workout. If he's taking in, let's say, 4,000 calories during the day, and he can put in 1,000 calories in his peri-workout, or at least put it in the drink and finish 500 or 600 calories of that, half or 3/4 of it, and then just when he's done, finish the rest, he's good to go. He's took in 1,000 calories in an hour and a half time. He doesn't have to go eat anything else. He's going to have those nutrients in his system for a while, especially if he saved a little bit. Some people just food is good. Real food is a good idea. I'm not suggesting everyone just live like the Jetsons with pills and powder. And some people are working out for a long period of time, and they want to go. It's part of the social environment they want to be in. They're going to train with training partners. Then they go hit the buffet, or they go and they have a meal together, or they go home to their family. That's the thing I find a lot with guys, is that we want to work around your lifestyle too. We're not automatons, and bodybuilding or powerlifting or strength training or strongman is not the end all be all. So you might have a smaller peri-workout so that you can save some room afterwards. A lot of people are not hungry at all. Another way to set things up would be to, if you train, for instance, during the middle of the day and you've got 6 large meals throughout the day, is have the pre-workout meal 2 or 3 hours before, so that you've got a relatively empty stomach and you can have a big meal then, and then you don't have to have any peri-workout. So that's one of your meals. You basically train, you multitask. You have a train and you have a meal at the same time. So there are different ways to construct it, and there's no perfect answer, but those are the 3 basic scenarios I found.